All right, so which one of you is going first?
You go first, Tronald.
Okay, sweet. So what exactly do I do?
All you've got to do is picture what you want to search for in your mind, and the most relevant tome will come to you.
Oh, okay, cool. Joe, I think of the Akashic Records.
As you think of the Akashic Records, Tronald, a faint hum resonates from one of the towering shelves. Without any further prompting, a tome slowly lifts itself off the shelf, hovering in the air for a moment before gently floating down into your hands. The book is ancient, its cover bound in a strange soft material that almost feels like a mix between leather and parchment. You carefully open the tome, revealing pages filled with intricate diagrams, symbols, and flowing script. The Akashic Records, as the book describes, are said to be a vast cosmic library containing the sum total of all knowledge, past, present, and future. Give me an intelligence check, buddy.
That's a 15 total, Joe.
They exist within the astral plane, a realm beyond the reach of most mortals, where time and space lose their meaning. The records are not just a collection of books or scrolls, but a living entity of knowledge constantly shifting and expanding with the flow of time. The book conveys multiple theories on how the Akashic Records might be accessed. Some claim that only those with a pure, enlightened soul can even glimpse the records, while others suggest that one must perform a series of impossible tasks to prove their worth. One theory speaks of a mythical key lost to time that can unlock the gateway to the records. Another posits that the records can only be accessed during a precise alignment of the stars, a cosmic event that occurs once every 10,000 years.
Oh, God. So basically nobody has a clue on how to get to them, only that they exist.
Well, it certainly seems like that, doesn't it?
Each theory seems more wild and outlandish than the last, ranging from traversing the infinite layers of the astral plane to entering a meditative state so deep that one's soul can transcend the boundaries of reality. Despite the varied approaches, they all converge on one point: the impossibility of accessing the Akashic Records. The book almost seems to mock the very idea of anyone reaching them, with each page subtly reinforcing the notion that the records are forever beyond the grasp of those who attempt to do so.
I don't know what exactly I was hoping to get out of that. It's just the fact that he mentioned it, you know? Like, I feel like everything he says matters. Joe, just to be clear then, it's not a case of plain shifting to the astral sea and finding the records.
Oh, absolutely not. Shifting to the astral sea would be like taking the first step on a journey of 1,000,000 miles.
Well, you might as well go on ahead and do yours, Celestia.
All right, Joe, I want to try summon a book that contains the histories of White Willow.
You close your eyes and reach out with your mind, focusing on the histories of White Willow. The air around you once again seems to hum with ancient energy as your thoughts weave through the vast collection of knowledge housed within the Platinum Sanctum. Slowly, a faint glow emanates from one of the shelves, and a single book begins to float toward you. The tome hovers in the air for a moment before gently lowering down into your hands. Its cover is old but far from worn. But Celestia, as you look down, expecting to see the title, The Histories of White Willow, you instead find something entirely different. The front page of the book cover reads, The Omnitheon.
Huh? The Omnitheon? Tronald, have you ever heard of that name before? Hell, Joe, have I ever heard that name before?
Nope, neither of you will have ever heard of it.
Right. Well, it looks like I've got a lot of reading to do. Tronald, do you want to help me read through it? Make sure we don't miss anything and take notes of important areas?
Yeah, I've got you.
We begin reading through it then, Joe.
As you open the book, a faint, musty scent of ancient parchment wafts up, filling the air around you with a sense of profound age. The pages, though yellowed with time, are surprisingly well preserved. As you begin to read, the words seem to almost glow on the page, drawing you deeper into the text with each line. The Omnitheon was an ancient and revered faith practiced in Eldranther, Valsira, Therados, Solariel, Nithoria, Tempestara, Pyrenes, Selunara, and Hydrian. Unlike other religions that worshipped a single deity, the Omnitheon encompassed the veneration of all gods, seeing them as interconnected facets of a greater divine truth. The text is rich with descriptions of a time long past when these cities were thriving centers of worship and knowledge. As you continue reading, you can almost feel the presence of the ancient priests and scholars who once walked these lands, their devotion to the gods palpable through the pages. The priests and scholars of the Omnithian were believed to possess unparalleled abilities to commune with the gods, acting as conduits for divine will and wisdom. Their rituals were intricate and all-encompassing, designed to honor and appease the entire pantheon, believing that balance and unity among the gods would bring peace and prosperity to their people. The words resonate with a deep, almost eerie sense of importance, as if you are uncovering something that has been hidden for eons. But there's a lingering feeling, an undercurrent of suspense, that perhaps this discovery is only the beginning and that the book may contain truths far greater and more dangerous than you initially imagined.
Joe, do any of them names ring a bell?
Give me a history check, Tronald.
That's a 15.
Nope. None of them are familiar to you in the slightest.
Well, I haven't heard of any cities that go by those names. Eldrenthar, Valsera, they don't ring any bells for me. And I've been around, seen plenty of maps, but they're like they've been wiped off the face of the earth.
What about me, Joe?
Roll it for me, Celestia.
Nah, that's an 8.
Yep, you know nothing.
Same here, Tronald. None of them sound familiar at all. It's almost like they've been lost to history or maybe hidden away on purpose. You'd think something as significant as what this Omnithion claims to be would have left more of a trace, but there's nothing. It's strange.
If they were so connected to the gods, this Omnithion, what could have caused their downfall?
Maybe they flew too close to the sun?
Potentially, but I still don't understand what the hell any of this has to do with White Willow.
Well, we're in the perfect place to find out. Joe, I try think of the name Omnithion.
As you concentrate on the name Omnithion, another book floats down from one of the higher shelves. The tome lands gently in your hands, its cover bearing the title, Before the War of Nations. You begin to flick through them, scanning the contents. At first, it appears to be a detailed account of the world before the Great War, a time when nations were at peace and the world was a very different place. The descriptions are vivid, but they don't seem to offer much new information. It's mostly an exhaustive chronicle of cultures, kingdoms, and alliances long gone. But then, after about 10 minutes of reading, something catches your eye. A name you just read in the other book, Eldrenthar. Your heart quickens as you focus on the passage, realizing this chapter speaks of cities that were completely eradicated in the war. As you continue to read, you recognize more names from the list of ancient cities tied to the Omnithian. It seems that all the cities you read about before are listed here, each one mentioned as having been destroyed, their names wiped from history. Alongside each ancient name, the modern city that has taken its place is also listed.
Get your quill out, Tronald. It's time to make some notes. All right, I begin reading the names of the ancient cities alongside their current counterparts.
As you delve deeper into the pages, a hidden tapestry of lost cities and forgotten faith begins to unravel before you. The first name that stands out is Eldrenthar, now known as White Willow, a city that was once one of the many hotspots of the Omnithian faith. Eldrenthar was a place where the gods were not just worshipped, but revered as integral facets of a greater divine truth. Here, the priests and scholars were believed to commune directly with the gods, acting as conduits for their will. It was said that the very air in Eldrenthar hummed with the presence of the gods, making it a place of unparalleled sacredness. But Eldrenthar was not alone in its devotion. To the north, Valsera, now called Frosthaven, stood as the citadel of ice and light, where the people believed they were closest to the celestial realm. Their prayers carried on the frigid winds to the gods above. Therados, nestled in the iron-rich mountains and now known as Ironspire, was revered as the forge of the divine. Here the people saw their craftsmanship as a sacred act blessed by the gods themselves. Further south, Solarael, now Suncrest, basked in the first light of dawn as the sanctuary of the radiant sun, where the gods of light and life were honored with every sunrise. Deep within ancient forests lay Nethoria, now Duskwood, the heart of the Twilight Grove, where the faithful believed the gods whispered through the rustling leaves and ancient trees. Tempestara, perched on coastal cliffs and now known as Stormwatch, was the bastion of thunder, where the gods of storms and seas were revered in all their tempestuous power. Pyranus, near a volcanic region, and now Emberfall, was the cradle of eternal flame, a place where fire and rebirth were seen as the purest forms of divine expression. Selunara, shrouded in eternal twilight and now called Moonshadow, was the realm of the Silver Crescent, where the mysteries of the moon were worshipped under its ever-present gaze. Finally, Hydrian, at the meeting point of three great rivers and now Rivermoot, was the sanctuary of flowing waters, where the rivers were seen as the lifeblood of the gods, blessing the lands they touched. Each of these cities, once devoted to the Omnitheon, has been obscured by time and the ravages of war, their true histories buried beneath the layers of modern life, yet the echoes of their past reverence linger in the names that have taken their place.
Well, I'll be damned. If that isn't what we're looking for, then I don't know what is. There's got to be a connection to Vizuriel's goals and why he attacked White Willow. I mean, look at this. An entire city devoted to the Omnitheon with direct ties to the gods themselves. There's no way that's a coincidence.
I mean, it makes sense, but anything that was there will be long gone by now, surely. The city was wiped out, its name erased from history. Whatever was once there, whatever connection they had to the gods, it's likely buried beneath centuries of ruins and overgrowth.
But maybe that's exactly what he's after. Something buried, something hidden. If the Omnitheon was as powerful as this book suggests, they might have had artifacts or knowledge that could still hold power. Vizuriel could be looking for something that was left behind.
But what could possibly have survived all this time? Even if there were artifacts or relics, they'd be lost to the elements or scavenged by those who came after. And if it's knowledge he's after, wouldn't it be easier for him to search the archives or ancient libraries rather than a destroyed city?
Maybe, but think about it. If the Omnitheon really did have a direct line to the gods, they could have hidden something that only someone with the right knowledge or power could find. Vizuriel's no ordinary tyrant. He's cunning, and he's been planning something big. What if he's after a way to reestablish that connection, to tap into whatever power the Omnitheon once had?
You're saying he might be looking for a way to harness divine power. That's disturbing. He could be trying to become a god himself, or worse, to manipulate the gods for his own ends.
Vizuriel is already some kind of demigod. He's Asmodeus's grandson. But maybe he's trying to go all the way. And what better way to do it than with the power of not one, but all the gods?
All the gods. That's beyond terrifying, Tronald. If he could wield that kind of power...
Then he could do exactly what he said he would do. He could destroy this world. He could annihilate every plane of existence. He could break through the divine gate and massacre every god he finds like pigs in a slaughterhouse, hanging their corpses from the heavens. It would make him unstoppable. And White Willow, or Eldranthar, as it was, might be part of the key. There's something there he needs, something crucial to his plan. We've got to figure it out before he does, or at the very least, understand what we're really up against.
Joe, I want to go back to the first book. Does it mention at all how the Omnitheon worshippers harness their power?
As you return to the first book, your eyes scan the ancient text, searching for any mention of how the Omnitheon worshippers harness their divine power. Your gaze falls upon a section that speaks of the Aterians. The words themselves seem to vibrate, pulling you deeper into the text. There were 13 Aterians described as alien-like altars, impossibly huge and incomprehensibly small at the same time, as if they existed beyond the normal boundaries of reality. These altars, the text explains, were conduits of divine power, each one capable of invoking the direct intervention of the gods. The Omnitheon people, it is said, used them to perform miracles, curing plagues, ending droughts, and bringing peace to warring lands. They were a people of peace, deeply devoted to the betterment of the mortal plane, and it was believed that this purity of purpose is why they were gifted them in the first place. But as the Great War raged on, the Omnitheon worshippers' perspective began to shift. The text takes on a more sinister tone as it describes their growing disillusionment with the mortal world. They came to a dark conclusion, that war and bloodshed were inevitable, that the cycle of violence would never end. They began to believe that the world was too corrupted, too tainted, for peace to ever truly take hold. Their thoughts turned toward a final solution, a way to end the suffering once and for all. They theorized that everyone would be better off beside the gods in eternal life, away from the foulness of the mortal world. This led them to begin preparations for the ultimate use of the altars, an event referred to as the Ascendance of the Aterians. The text describes this event in terrifying detail. When all 13 Aterians are aligned, their combined power initiates the Ascendance, a celestial event that tears open the fabric of reality itself, creating a direct and unimpeded connection between the mortal plane and any chosen plane of existence. During the Ascendance, The Eterians resonate in unison, their energies intertwining to form a divine pathway, allowing beings, energies, and landscapes to cross over freely. It is a moment of immense power, capable of reshaping the world itself. The implications are terrifying, the possibilities of its power endless and horrifying. The Omnithion believed that through the Ascendance they could bring about a new reality, one free of suffering, but at the cost of everything the mortal plane held dear.
This is beyond anything I could have imagined. 13 Eterians, each with the power to call upon the gods themselves, and if they're aligned, it's terrifying.
Terrifying? It's catastrophic, Celestia. I'm almost certain this is what Vizuriel is after.
But to what end? Why would he want to do that? What's his goal?
With the power to connect our plane to any other, he could open a direct path to the 9 hells, the abyss, or worse, merge everything into a singular realm where he is the supreme ruler, above even the gods. He could rewrite reality itself, make it into whatever vision he has in mind.
Wait a second, there's 13 Eterians and there's 13 main members of the Obetus.
Yet another reason why I think we know exactly what he aims to do. We just don't know how.
Joe, is there any information in this book about how the Ascension failed?
The threat of the Ascension at the time was shrouded in vagueness, its potential power too obscure to be fully comprehended. The nations of mortal Azure, embroiled in their own conflicts and power struggles, could not truly grasp the magnitude of the danger posed by the alignment of the Aterian altars, yet there was a lingering sense of unease, a whisper that this vague threat could not be entirely dismissed. The idea of an event so catastrophic, so final, was enough to strike fear into the hearts of even the most hardened rulers. The Aterian altars were scattered across the continent of mortal Azure, each one hidden deep within the borders of a different nation. These altars, with their immense and otherworldly power, were both a blessing and a curse. No single nation was willing to allow another to enter their territory to depose of the threats, fearing it would give their enemies an advantage. Nor were they willing to allocate their own resources to deal with the Omnithion within their borders, for fear of weakening their own defenses. The balance of power was too delicate, and no ruler wanted to give even the slightest edge to their rivals. And so in the shadows of political maneuvering and mistrust, the nations of mortal Azure came to a grim consensus. They would fund a third party, an organization that would operate without allegiance, without mercy, and with a single purpose. This third party would systematically make its way through every territory, felling the Omnithion people one by one, destroying their cities and erasing their very existence from history. They would kill every last one of them, ensuring that the Aterian altars could never be aligned and that the Ascension would never come to pass. This third party was known as the Chains of Brass.
Oh, well, fuck. I guess that whole thing's coming full circle then.
I remember when we first bumped into them, we learned a bit about their history and their place in the Great War, but I never thought it would tie in so closely.
Yeah, it's strange to say the least. I wonder why they didn't try and use the altars for themselves. I mean, if they had free reign from the nations, I'd have suspected an organization like the Chains of Brass to do just that.
Does the book give any information regarding that, Joe?
The book doesn't offer any concrete evidence, but it does hint at something deeper, something buried within the shadowy alliances and whispered fears of that time. The leaders of the great nations, it seems, were not naive to the potential dangers of the Eterians. They fully expected that an organization like the Chains of Brass, given their ruthlessness and cunning, might try to harness the power of the altars for themselves. But the text suggests that there was an understanding, a secret knowledge shared among the ruling powers of mortal Azure. Only those with the blood of the Omnithion people could activate an Eterian. The altars were not mere tools to be wielded by any who dared. They were sacred, bound to the very essence of the Omnithian lineage. The leaders knew that no outsider, no matter how powerful or determined, could ever hope to command the Eterians without that bloodline. This truth was likely what kept the Chains of Brass from attempting to use the altars for their own gain, despite their free reign across the continent. It's as though the altars themselves were sentient in a way, bound by a divine will that prevented them from being misused by those unworthy. The book hints at the fear and respect the nations held for the altars, understanding that while they could be destroyed, they could never be controlled by outsiders. It was this knowledge that made the leaders of mortal Azure comfortable with unleashing the Chains of Brass, knowing that while they could annihilate the Omnithion, they could never usurp their divine connection.
But that's good then? If the Omnitheon people were fully destroyed, then there's no chance that Vizuriel could possess their blood, never mind his 12 disciples. Without the bloodline, they can't activate the Eterians. It's a dead end for him, right?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But Vizuriel, he's too cunning to leave something like that to chance. The way he's been moving, the way he's been building his power, it doesn't fit with him chasing a dead end. He knows something we don't.
But if the bloodline's gone, it's gone. How could he—
Wait, what if he found a way to replicate the bloodline? The cloning process, that's what it's for. He somehow got the blood of the Omnitheon people running through his veins, and he's using it. No, he's imbuing his disciples with that blood, rebirthing them as part of that lineage.
You're saying he's recreating the Omnitheon bloodline through cloning? That's how he plans to activate the Eterians? But how would he even get his hands on the original blood?
That's the missing piece. I'm not going to try and guess how he's done it, but he's Asmodeus's grandson. Who knows what ancient forgotten resources he has access to? He's been playing the long game, and now he's found a way to tie it all together. The cloning isn't just about creating loyal followers. It's about reviving the Omnitheon bloodline, one by one, until he has enough to enact the Ascendance.
Tronald, do you think it's possible that some of the Omnitheon people managed to survive the slaughter? If they did, maybe Vizuriel is a long descendant of theirs. And if he's got that bloodline in him, combined with the blood of Asmodeus, that would be a pretty awful combination.
It's possible. But according to these texts, the chains of brass were thorough. But then again, history's full of people who slipped through the cracks, who were thought to be dead but lived on in secret. Just look at me. Aren't I proof of that?
And if he's a true descendant, then he wouldn't even need to find surviving Omnitheon people. He could use his own blood in the cloning process. He could create an entire lineage of followers, all tied to the Omnitheon through him, his disciples, his army. They wouldn't just be loyal. They'd be infused with both his infernal power and the divine connection of the Omnitheon.
Exactly. And with the blood of Asmodeus running through his veins, he's got a power base that's both divine and infernal. He could use that to corrupt the Eterians, bend them to his will. And when the Ascendance happens, it won't be to bring people closer to the gods. It'll be to bring the gods down to him.
Tronald, this is far bigger than us. We need to bring this to the Emperor, now. I know the situation is complicated, and there's a lot of bad blood, but this is for the sake of the entire world. When you brought me back and put White Willow at risk, I was furious with you. But this is on a colossal scale, and if we make the wrong move, it won't just be a city at stake, it'll be everything. Please, let's not repeat that mistake on such an unimaginable scale.
Celestia, I get where you're coming from, but you've got to see the bigger picture here. The world betrayed the Omnitheon people, purged them from existence. Part of me can almost understand Vizuriel's mindset now, how he talks of peace through blood. He's twisted, sure, but he's not entirely wrong. The world is built on betrayal and violence. If we take this to the Emperor, what do you think is going to happen? Panic? Confusion? You bet. The nations are teetering on the edge as it is. One wrong move and the whole thing could go up in flames. And that's exactly what Vizuriel wants. Think about it. Why do you think he's been so careful, dropping hints just enough for us to piece this together? He's smart. He knows how to manipulate the board. He's probably counting on us to run to the Emperor, to spark that panic, to be the catalyst for another great multi-nation war. It's all part of his plan, Celestia. And the moment we bring this higher, we play right into his hands. No, we deal with this. Us. We keep this quiet, we keep it controlled. We make allies as we go, we build our strength, and we take him down before he can pull the strings on something even worse. This isn't about avoiding responsibility. It's about making sure the world doesn't burn while we're trying to save it.
Right, well, let's just take it as it comes then.
We can do this, Celestia.
All right then, Joe. I think that about wraps up all we need to know for now. We've got the names of the cities where the Eterians are located, and we have a world map from way back, so we should be able to get someone with knowledge of Mortal Azure to pinpoint the locations for us, someone like Asmo Prime.
Yeah, that ties in quite nicely. He should be able to fill in some of the gaps, hopefully at least.
All right, Joe, we begin to walk out of the Platinum Sanctum.
As you both make your way towards the door, the silence of the Platinum Sanctum feels heavier with each step. the grand chamber stretching out in an unsettling quiet. But then, the door ahead creaks open with an almost eerie slowness, and a figure begins to emerge from the shadows beyond. For a heart-stopping moment, the figure's silhouette strikes a familiar chord of fear. Long, flowing black hair cascades over her shoulders, and the way she holds herself, tall and imposing, sends a jolt of panic through you. The dim light plays tricks on your eyes, obscuring her face in deep shadow, making your pulse quicken as dread tightens its grip. But as the figure steps fully into the sanctum, the shadows peel away, revealing a face that's not the icy, blue-eyed gaze you feared, but soft brown eyes that widen in surprise at the sight of you. Relief washes over you as you realize it's not Lady Alara. The woman, dressed in the modest robes of a scholar, lowers her head respectfully when she sees you, Celestia, her posture shrinking as if to make herself smaller in your presence. She steps aside, letting you pass, the tension easing from your shoulders as you move past her and out of the sanctum.
Don't fucking do that, Joe. You nearly gave me a heart attack.
Well, let's not push our luck. We get out of here, Joe.
You both make your way down the grand staircase of the Mythos Citadel. The weight of what you've learned hangs heavy in your minds as you descend, the now shut doors leading to the towering shelves and endless tomes fading behind you. As you reach the bottom, traversing through the Citadel's many layers, the large doors swing open, and the cool air of the outside world rushes to greet you. Without hesitation, you step outside, leaving the Platinum Sanctum behind you as you blend back into the streets of Waterdeep. And that brings us to you, Saxi, Raarh, and Might. After about 30 minutes of walking through the winding streets of Waterdeep, you finally find yourselves in the heart of the castle ward. The air is filled with the scent of fine perfumes and the distant murmur of well-dressed nobles going about their day. As you turn a corner, the shop comes into view, Madame LaSalle's Fine Threads. The storefront is elegant, with large, polished windows that showcase mannequins dressed in the finest silks and velvets. It's clear from the first glance that charismatic Asmo was right. This is a place of luxury where only the wealthiest come to outfit themselves in the latest fashions. The door is slightly ajar, and the faint sound of classical music drifts out, welcoming you in.
Well, this place certainly screams high society.
Yeah, it's fancy, all right. You think that music's live? Maybe they've got someone in there playing all day just to set the mood.
Seems like a waste of time to me. Who needs music just to buy clothes?
Ah, Raarh, my big green friend. You underestimate the power of music. Music is the doorway to the soul, the rhythm of life itself. It's not just about the notes. It's about the feeling it stirs within you. When you hear a melody, it can change your mood, your thoughts, even the way you see the world.
That's real interesting, Mike.
Oh, thanks, man.
Not! You don't half talk a load of shit, you know that?
It's not like it matters anyway. Come on, let's get inside.
As you push open the door, a soft chime echoes through the air, signaling your arrival. The interior of Madame LaSalle's Fine Threads is nothing short of opulent. The walls are lined with deep burgundy velvet, and the floor beneath your feet is a plush carpet that seems to swallow your footsteps in silence. The scent of expensive perfumes and freshly pressed fabrics fills the air, a subtle but constant reminder of the luxury this place offers. Rows of clothing racks display garments made from the finest silks, satins, and velvets, each piece more exquisite than the last. The ceiling arches high above, painted with a mural of the night sky, dotted with stars that seem to twinkle ever so slightly as you move beneath them, and chandeliers made of delicate crystal hang from above. In one corner, a life-size mannequin is complete with a gown so intricate it seems almost alive, the fabric shimmering as if woven with threads of moonlight. To your left, a long counter made of polished mahogany stretches along the wall, behind which a row of small glass cases display an array of finely crafted accessories, golden cufflinks, jeweled brooches, and delicate lace gloves.
Joe. I start shouting out her name. Hello, Madame LaSalle. Are you there? We need some fine threads. Pronto.
I walk over to the side here and pick up a display gown. I hold it up against myself. Hey, Saxi, what do you think? Do I look sexy? Should I start wearing this stuff all the time? I give him a little twirl.
Mate, stop shouting, man. We're in a fancy place, not a tavern. And for fuck's sake, Raarh, put that down. You're going to get us thrown out before we even get started.
Madame LaSalle, where are you hiding? We have come for some sick drip.
Joe, I grab another gown and drape it over myself like a cape. Look, Saxi! I'm a superhero!
No, you're not. You're mentally retarded.
Before Saxi can finish his sentence, Madame LaSalle glides forward from the back of the shop, her presence immediately commanding the room. The moment she steps into view, something stirs in your memory, a faint sense of familiarity. It's not so much for might, but definitely for Raarh and Saxy. Her curly gray hair is styled elegantly, and she's dressed in extremely fine clothing. But the recognition keeps biting at the back of your brain. Madame LaSalle's eyes widen slightly as she spots you, her composed demeanor faltering for just a moment. She recoils ever so slightly, her gaze lingering on you, Raarh, and you can almost see the memory flash behind her eyes. The shock, the disbelief, it's all there. And then it hits you, Raarh. This isn't just any shopkeeper. This is the woman whose legs you took out from under her the last time you were in Waterdeep. The woman who well, let's just say you didn't leave on the best of terms.
Oh, well, fuck.
Oh, fantastic.
And that's where we're going to wrap up this session. See you later, guys.